My name is Emily, and I was just a regular mom, 46 years old, trying her best to raise my two boys, Jack and Sam. After my divorce in my 30s, I worked odd jobs. I have a morning job as a hairdresser, and then I took night shifts at a factory just to give my boys a good life. Their dad had this terrible drinking problem and could get violent, so I decided to leave him to protect my little ones. However, as a high school graduate, I never had much choice. Still, I tried to get it together for my family. It's not like I didn't want to go to college, I just never managed to afford it. I was working hard so that I could give my boys what I didn't have when I was their age. Jack's my oldest, and he's always been a bit of a neat freak. I mean, he's good at studies and all that, but he's got this thing about cleanliness. He's always calling my hands dirty because of my factory job. He would come at me for wearing fraying sweatshirts, worn out jeans, and sneakers with holes, but I was doing the best I could, working from dawn till dusk. Sam, my younger one, has always been affectionate and considerate one in our family. From the time he was little, he had this tender heart that melted mine. Unlike his older brother Jack, Sam never hesitated to show his love and care for me. When he was a child, Sam would always hold my hand when we walked together, and he would give me big, warm hugs just because he felt like it. He had this way of looking at me with those gentle eyes that made me feel like the most important person in the world. Life was going well. I worked really hard and was tired all the time, but it was worth it. I never complained because I knew that I wanted the world for my boys. However, after Jack graduated from college, things started to slowly change. I realized that Jack wasn't just obsessed with cleanliness, he was also obsessed with money, and it was only getting worse. One day, while Jack was visiting his father, he overheard a conversation between his dad and one of his neighbors. He was praising Jack's father for his successful career as a salesman and high income. As Jack eavesdropped on the conversation, he couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. Jack was impressed by his father's life of luxury. After that encounter, Jack became fixated on the idea that if I had stayed with his father, our family might have lived a more comfortable and privileged life. He started questioning why I had chosen to leave when there was so much wealth on the other side. He began resenting my decision and the financial struggles we had to face. But I couldn't go back to that life, not with a man who couldn't control his drinking. Jack's dad was a charmer. He could be really nice and likable to anyone who could be useful in his life. But to his own wife, he was still an abuser. I was really hurt that Jack didn't understand that. To me, it was more important to raise my children in a safe and loving environment than to have all the money in the world and then suffer in silence. Eventually, Jack decided to be independent and moved out. It wasn't easy for me, but I understood his need to spread his wings. Sometimes he would come home short on cash and take whatever money I had saved. Sam tried to stop him, but he was physically stronger. So, we didn't stand a chance. I was hurt and scared. I didn't want Jack to grow up and become his father. But at that point, I felt like there was not much I could do. Then one day, I got a surprising message from Jack. It was about his upcoming wedding, and my heart leaped with joy and pride. I couldn't believe my little boy was all grown up and ready to start a new chapter in his life. I felt a mixture of emotions, excitement, happiness, and a tinge of anxiety. But above all, I was overjoyed for him. Jack arranged a dinner with his fiance's family. I was thrilled to meet the woman who had captured my son's heart. But then came the unexpected change of heart. Jack suddenly told me not to come to the dinner. He said it was better if I didn't attend and that he didn't want me to embarrass him. I was hurt and confused. I couldn't understand why he wouldn't want me to be a part of this special moment in his life. But I knew that being a parent meant respecting our children's choices, even when they didn't align with our desires. I tried to put on a brave face and convince myself that maybe it was for the best. In the following days, I kept myself busy with work, trying to distract my thoughts from dwelling on the situation. But still, something didn't sit right with me. I felt like it was unfair to me, and if I kept allowing Jack to behave this way, I was being a bad mother. I needed to get some boundaries and stand up for myself too. And so I called Jack up and told him how upset I was. I was honest and didn't hold anything back. I even brought up the fact that he was behaving like his dad. Unfortunately, that seemed to really strike a chord. Jack was so upset that he told me he would not even have me at his wedding. Jack, I need to talk to you. I'm really upset about what happened.
What's there to talk about?
Don't act like nothing happened. You told me not to come to meet your in-laws and it hurt.
Well, why are you bringing it up now? You were fine with it a few days ago.
That's not the point, Jack. I was happy for you and you shut me out.
Look, I just didn't want any drama at the meeting. It's going to be the first time I see them and they traveled from abroad to be here, so I didn't need you making a scene.
Making a scene? I just wanted to be there for you and you threw it in my face.
Mom, my in-laws are very wealthy, well-educated people. I don't want to let them down. I want to look good in front of them.
Is it what it's really about? My job? My education? Jack, I raised you. I deserve to be there.
Mom, let me tell you something. Dad's going to be there. Are you sure you want to see him after all these years?
What? Why would you invite your dad and not me?
Why not? He's better at talking and he's going to make a better impression.
God, Jack, how could you be so heartless? You're acting just like him sometimes.
That's not fair, Mom. I'm not Dad.
Why are you acting just like him then, using people and then kicking them out when you can't use them anymore?
Well, I don't need you meddling in my life anymore. I can handle things on my own. You know what? Maybe you shouldn't be coming to my wedding either.
Jack, I have always been there for you, but this is honestly horrible. You know you're making a mistake.
It's my wedding, Mom. I get to decide who's there.
Fine. If that's what you want, I won't come.
Good. It's better that way.
All right, Jack. I hope you have a beautiful wedding. Take care, son. After Jack hung up on me, a wave of emotions crashed over me. Hurt, anger, and disbelief all mixed together, making it hard to catch my breath. It felt like my heart was breaking into a million pieces. How could he say such a thing? How could he prefer his alcoholic dad, who had caused me so much pain, over me, his own mother? Tears welled up in my eyes as I tried to process what had just happened. I had sacrificed so much for him and his brother, hoping to give them a better life, and now, in a moment of anger, he had thrown it all back in my face? Just when I thought I had hit rock bottom, there was a surprise. The evening when Jack was supposed to meet up with his in-laws, he called me several times. On the phone, he sounded really urgent, asking me to come. However, I didn't know if I wanted to go anymore. I pressed on him, asking why he would invite me to the dinner now that it was all too late. He was on the verge of crying on the phone, begging me to come. I knew in my gut that something was wrong, and so I hung up and quickly went to my car. I was still in my factory clothes, but hearing the urgency in Jack's voice, I didn't even have the time to think about getting changed. As I drove towards the restaurant, my mind was flooded with worry. What could have happened to make Jack so desperate for me to be there? As I approached the restaurant, my heart pounded in my chest. I spotted Jack's car parked outside and a knot formed in my stomach. Taking a deep breath, I pushed open the restaurant doors, unsure of what I would find inside. The scene that greeted me was far from what I had expected. The air was thick with tension and embarrassment. There, in the middle of the restaurant, stood Jack's dad, looking flustered and disheveled. He reeked of alcohol, stumbling as he tried to regain his balance. I had hoped that Jack's dad had changed, but it was clear that he hadn't. He had been drunk before coming to the dinner, and his presence was now causing a scene, embarrassing Jack and his fiancée's family. Jack looked at me with pleading eyes, his expression a mix of anger and helplessness. My instincts as a mother kicked in, and without a second thought, I walked up to Jack's dad, trying to steady him. Come on, let's get you inside," I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the anger bubbling within me. He mumbled something incoherent, and as I guided him towards the exit, he suddenly started to retch. My heart sank, and I felt a surge of sympathy for Jack. How could his dad do this, especially on such an important day? Outside, I helped Jack's dad sit down on a nearby bench, and I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. "You need to get yourself together. This is not the place or time for this behavior." He mumbled some more, barely coherent, and I sighed, feeling a mix of anger and pity for him. As much as I wanted to berate him for his actions, I knew it wouldn't do any good. He had his own demons to battle, and it wasn't my place to try and fix him. Inside the restaurant, the atmosphere had shifted from celebration to awkwardness. Jack's fiancé's family looked visibly uncomfortable, and I could see the disappointment in their eyes. I called a cab for my ex-husband and went inside. I had to be there for Jack. As soon as I went in, I noticed someone. Jack's soon-to-be father-in-law was someone I had known for a long time ago. It took a moment for the realization to sink in, but there was no mistaking that familiar face. "David?" He turned towards me, and a look of recognition crossed his face.
"Emily, is that really you?"
"Yes, it's me. I can't believe it's you. How long has it been?"
"It's been over 20 years, I think. I moved abroad with my family when we were in high school, remember?"
"I can't believe Jack's marrying your daughter. What a small world." Memories of our school days came flooding back, and I couldn't believe that fate had brought us back together in such a surprising way. I was still trying to wrap my head around the coincidence. Dave nodded.
"Yes, life has a funny way of bringing people back together. I never thought I would see you again after all these years."
"We have a lot to catch up on. It's been so long since we last saw each other." As the evening continued, David introduced me to his wife and daughter with the warmest smile. We found ourselves reminiscing about our school days and catching up on everything that had happened in our lives and since we had last seen each other. It was like no time had passed at all, and we fell easily into a comfortable atmosphere. David told me about his successful career abroad, and I shared the joys and challenges of raising my two sons as a single mother. Of course, my ex-husband came up in the conversation. I didn't explicitly talk about it, but both David and his wife could guess what had happened. Jack had painfully left me out of the dinner and only called me when he realized his dad didn't take it seriously. David's wife held my hands and expressed her sympathy for me, as Jack's fiancé gave me a concerned look. It seemed like it was becoming clear to them how materialistic and calculating Jack could be. A few days after the dinner, I received a call from Jack. His voice was tense as he spoke.
"Mom, she broke up with me."
I could feel the pain in his voice, and my heart sank. "I'm sorry, Jack."
"You know why this happened, right? It's because of what you did at the dinner. You played the victim in front of her father, and she couldn't handle it."
I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself against his blame. "Jack, I didn't mean to cause any trouble. How is this my fault when your dad was the one who showed up drunk?"
"It doesn't matter. You always make everything about you. You can't just let me have my own life without interfering."
"Jack, I love you and I want the best for you, but you're being unreasonable and completely ungrateful."
"You're always causing problems. You ruined my chance at happiness, and I can't forgive you for that."
The tears streamed down my cheeks as I listened to his words. I had hoped that one day Jack would understand the sacrifices I had made as a mother, but it seemed that he was too consumed by his anger and resentment to see beyond his own pain, and just like that, Jack's supposedly fancy wedding became a disaster. They had to cancel everything last minute, and Jack lost a lot of money to the venue because they have already done half of the setup. Jack's ex-fiancée refused to talk to him, citing his and his dad's rude behaviors as the main reason. It seemed like she couldn't trust him anymore after witnessing his relationship with his own family. Jack wasn't dead and he turned to me for financial support, but I said no. I knew that I had spoiled him enough. I needed to put my foot down. Just like that, Jack lost his dad and his fiancée within a short period of time. I gave him the space he needed to figure out where he really did go wrong in life, and that was when Sam really stepped up. He approached his brother to offer the wisest pieces of advice. As months passed, Sam's words began to sink in, and Jack found himself reflecting on his relationship with me. He realized that he had been quick to judge and place blame, and that perhaps he had been too harsh in his judgment. He missed the family bond we once had, and he longed for the happiness that seemed to have slipped away. One evening, Jack approached me hesitantly, his eyes filled with a mix of emotions.
Oh, Mom, I've been thinking a lot about everything that's happened, and I realize that I haven't been fair to you. I've been holding on to anger and resentment, and it's been clouding my judgment. I'm sorry.
I listened quietly, my heart swelling with hope. He continued,
I know I've made mistakes, and I'm sorry for the pain I've caused you. But I also know that you've always loved us and done your best for us. I want to try and rebuild our relationship if you're willing.
Tears welled up in my eyes, and I embraced my son tightly. That was everything I needed to hear. And just like that, the healing began. With Sam's unwavering support and understanding, our family slowly came back together. It wasn't an easy journey, but we learned to forgive each other and let go of the past. We realized that we were stronger together and that love had the power to heal even the deepest wounds. Our family became a source of comfort and joy once again, and we cherished the moments we spent together.